Coming up on this edition of Pinpoint Weather University. Scary scenes in Wales. A paddleboarder and a dog caught in a dangerous thunderstorm. We'll show you the herring rescue that took place, and we'll also talk about what you could do if you get caught in water around bolts of lightning. Plus, summer is here and it looks hot across the entire country. We'll talk about where we can see the hottest summers on record, and plus talk about what is driving this heat for later this year. Coming up on this edition of Pinpoint Weather University, and it starts right now. Welcome into Pinpoint Weather University. I am meteorologist Brandon Lawson. Big welcome to our Queen City News Plus and YouTube viewers. And if you're connecting with me on my socials, on IG, X, or Facebook, I'm at WSBrandon9. Thanks for tapping in with me. A lot of you follow me on there for weather content, but as you know, I do a lot of NASCAR content on there as well. So appreciate you guys' support. And our Queen City News pages. We do a lot of shows and originals. We appreciate all the support that you guys always give us. I've got to show you some crazy video to start the episode here. We're going to actually try something a little different. Some of the craziest video we've seen over the last week. And Austin McCullum, our producer for Queen City News Plus, saw this video and it scared me when I saw it. Take a listen and a look. Man, that is terrifying. A paddleboarder and a dog in North Wales got stuck in a thunderstorm. Crazy scenes, the bolts of lightning just striking all around them as they're on the water. Scary situation. Weather conditions were described as, quote, truly biblical. You can see the rescuers rescuing the paddleboarder and the dog. Everybody's okay, but man, this was a scary rescue. A matter of fact, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, they're a 24-hour lifeboat search and rescue service over there across the UK and Ireland. I believe they're also parts of the Central Channel Islands and even parts of the Ireland UK area. So again, this is a pretty big organization, and they said that in 25 years of lifeboating, the rescuer, I've faced all kinds of weather, but last night was a first. What should have been a straightforward rescue became extremely challenging due to the electrical thunderstorm. So man, that's a scary situation right there. Glad everybody was okay. And again, this just goes to show you got to be careful. Now, if you get caught in a situation like this, we are in suburb, storms pop up. Whenever we tell you a 20 to 30% chance of a storm, you aren't going to cancel your plans to get on the lake or on the river. But one thing you can do, download the Pinpoint Weather app. It's free, and it also lets you know when lightning and thunderstorms are nearby. But something else too, if you get caught in a storm, you're just out there and you can't really do nothing about it. You want to get low. You want to get everybody to the center of the boat just to kind of distribute the weight a little bit across the boat. And you also want to make sure you're not touching anything metal, whether you have one of those fish finders or fishing pole. You want to stay away from everything metal, and you want to steer across the waves. You don't want to steer right into them. It could be even more dangerous for you. So just try to get to shore as soon as possible. It's one of those unlucky situations, and it happens. It happens more than you probably know. Just be careful out there. And always, if thunder roars, go indoors. Some more video. Man, the Argentinian soccer team, they're here for the World Cup, right? You expect them to get a good welcome to the U.S. Well, unfortunately, Mother Nature had other plans. The Argentinian soccer team was woken up by a tornado warning. It actually caused damage around the hotel they were staying in. You can see the Argentina flag there. I guess some of their flags and logos they just kind of had distributed across the hotel. Just so you know, they're here. They're here for the World Cup. It's a big event, and tornado warning ended up turning into the damage there. I'm not sure if it was actually a tornado that made landfall there, or excuse me, that touched down there and caused that damage, but it again caused this damage here. 82 mph sustained winds, according to the National Hurricane Center, National Weather Center. I mean, I'm really in hurricane season right now, as if you can tell. Landfalling tornadoes and National Hurricane Center turning into the National Weather Service. But man, you could see the damage there. Scary scenes. Everybody was okay. But I'm telling you, if you're an Argentinian soccer fan, this might not be good news for you guys going into the World Cup. Welcome to the country, Lionel Messi. Let's go ahead and get into our next video, our final video here. Why is Kilauea volcano? You could see the whirlwind forming. There it is. Man, that's pretty cool stuff there. Obviously, that volcano, you'll see it erupt, but it's so interesting to see these little funnel swirls go upward and then dissipate very quickly. And you can see also the lava fountain sprayed during the volcano's 48th eruptive episode. So USGS reported the volcano is no longer erupting, but a little whirlwind forming outside of it. It's pretty neat stuff. Hawaii always has all kinds of good views, and another good one there. So I am meteorologist Brandon Lawson. We've been showing you some crazy video, but I also want to talk about just how warm it has been here across the Carolinas. Charlotte, man, it was a very, very, very warm spring. Matter of fact, it was actually the warmest spring on record. And this is a trend we have been experiencing over the last 3 years. So 2024, 2025, and 2026 are all among the top 5 warmest springs on record in Charlotte. Again, summer technically hasn't started astronomically speaking, but we go by 3-month group pairings because we want to keep climatological stats at the same time each year. Astronomical seasons, the time, the date changes each year, and whether it's 2 days or 1 day apart, it can change the way we keep track of data. So scientists are like, we want to keep data on the first of every 3 months for each season, and that's what we do. Like we see in what December, January, and February. Those are your winter months. March, April, May, the months we just came out of. Those are your spring months. And now we're in June, July, and August for our summer months. And it always starts June 1st, meteorological summer. And that is why we're already talking about our spring stats. Again, it was a very, very hot spring and also a very dry one, even though we did get a good amount of rain in May. As a matter of fact, when you look at May alone, 5.87 inches of rainfall. That's how much rain we received during the month of May, folks. And guess what? This year, we've only seen 12 inches. So through May 31st, this is actually the 13th driest start for Charlotte. Now, when you look at May's rainfall and look at the 5.87 inches, nearly half of our rain so far this year has actually fallen during the month of May. Goes to show you just how dry it has been. But now it's time for summer. And summers have been heating up across the globe. But here in our US, you can see the warmth from the West Coast to the East Coast to the Northeast to the Southeast to the Deep South. The only place that isn't warming as significantly is the Central Plains area. But even then, you can see pockets. There's a few counties there that are still glowing red. So the majority of the country is experiencing warmer conditions for the summer season. And when you look at it a little bit more closer to home here in the Charlotte area, we're also warming at a pretty alarming rate, almost 3 degrees warmer compared to what we were in 1970. And it's all mainly due to human-induced climate change. The only reason it's not all climate change is because we have something called climate variability, ENSO. Yeah, we've got El Nino and La Nina that can also change climate patterns year after year. So that's why not every warmer year or cooler year can be contributed to just one source. There's also that percentage that has to do with climate variability. Like an El Nino could lead to a warmer summer for us at times, or it could just lead to a warmer year in general because El Nino, you have warmer water in the central and eastern equatorial Pacific, and that can warm the earth as a whole anyway. So that's why we can tend to get warmer years, but it just accelerates the problem we already have, the warming, right? We are going to see warmer years anyway because of human-induced climate change, fossil fuels being released out, and the greenhouse gases being released into the atmosphere. That traps heat. And eventually, when you add El Nino to that, you're just adding more heat to an atmosphere that can't get rid of the heat it's already gaining from being trapped due to greenhouse gases. So that is why summer continues to warm. And another thing that is a hidden danger. We always talk about it during the summer season. I'll take this one full screen for you. Is the dangerous humid heat. We are seeing an increase in humidity across much of the eastern US. Now, a big reason the eastern US is seeing more humid days versus the western US is because of our friend the Gulf, where the Gulf pumps all that moisture into the southeast, the mid-Atlantic region, up through parts of the Kentucky and Tennessee valleys, along the Mississippi River, and north into parts of the Central Plains. That's why we tend to get humid days here. But out west, it's always dry because you don't have the Gulf influence there. The Gulf bringing in that moisture. There's no real moisture source there unless you live really close to the Pacific Ocean, and the Pacific is able to kind of pound moisture in on you. So we tend to see more dangerous humid days. And the big reason why is because as that moisture is pulling out of the Gulf, whenever you have warmer days, warmer air can actually hold more moisture. You actually are able to fill the atmosphere with more moisture when it's warmer outside. Mother Nature is able to hold more. And we have to go into our textbooks a little bit for this one, man. I actually was looking forward to chatting about this, and I'm going to. It's the Clausius-Clapeyron relationship. This is getting a little geeky on you here. But again, the Clausius-Clapeyron relationship, I've got two flags there. The German flag is the first flag you see there. And I've also got the French flag there. And the big reason why is because Clausius and also you've got Clapeyron as well. They are actually both different, like from like France and also from Germany. So I had to include both of their countries in there. It just felt right, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about what this Clausius-Clapeyron relationship is. So essentially, warmer air can hold more moisture. 1 degrees Fahrenheit of warming allows for 4% more water vapor or moisture in the atmosphere. This also includes why we've seen a little bit more heavier rainfall events around here in the Carolinas and across much of the country, because eventually when that moisture has got to be lifted up by a cold front, what goes up must come down, and all that moisture just comes down over us. This can also include heavier snowfall events too. So again, just remember this relationship. A warmer atmosphere is a more muggy atmosphere at times, and that is why we're getting more dangerous humidity days. And the thing is, humidity, it's the problem, right? You hear the saying all the time. It's not the heat, it's the humidity that gets you. Well, the humidity is increasing, and that's what gets us. So we're getting got more, unfortunately. Warmer temperatures equal more moisture. So here's another example. So a 70-degree Fahrenheit atmosphere can hold double the moisture of a 50 degrees Fahrenheit atmosphere. And here's the thing. Why is it that the humidity is the problem? Why is that the thing that gets us? Well, I made this graphic a year ago. I actually have made this at all my shops that have been at. I love making a graphic about why our bodies sweat. So here it is. Let's say you're out throwing the football, you're running around, you're doing something outdoors, and you're in a low humidity environment. There's not a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. It probably feels good. So what ends up happening? Our bodies sweat. That sweat evaporates from our skin, and evaporation is a cooling process. So as that sweat evaporates, we cool our bodies down. We call this evaporative cooling. So our body sweats, that sweat evaporates into the atmosphere because the atmosphere does not have a lot of moisture, so it can take whatever moisture you have off your body, and it cools your body down, and it's able to cool adequately. However, in a very high humid atmosphere or very muggy atmosphere, we already have too much moisture. Mother Nature is full and packed with full moisture. So our body's going to sweat. It's going to continue to sweat because that's what it does to try and cool off. However, our body can't release that sweat into the atmosphere because the atmosphere's already got too much moisture. So it's essentially Mother Nature's like, I need you to take that sweat and I need you to leave it over there. Here's the problem. If the sweat's staying on us, it's not evaporating. It's not cooling us down. So evaporative cooling fails, and sweat can't evaporate to cool us down. And that means your body can't cool adequately, and we can get overheated. The temperature outlook for the summer months is out. You can see the warm conditions that are expected across much of the country. You have to go to the Midwest and also the Great Lakes region to even really get some average temperatures. And even then, it's going to be hot. It gets hot in Chicago. It gets really hot up there. So just be very careful this summer as always. You want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water. I always keep my water on lock. I have it for all my episodes just because my mouth gets dry, but also it's warm out there. And whenever I sweat in the workout in the morning, I want to make sure I'm replenishing that sweat and also get your electrolytes in too. But again, this is a look at the temperature outlook. And a big reason for this, I believe the reason we're seeing very warm temperature outlooks now for the seasons to come is because El Nino is going to be a big deal coming up here later this year. So, I mean, everywhere across the country, Seattle could see the warmest year on record that it's ever seen across the Northwest Pacific. Here in Charlotte, man, I would not be shocked if we saw the warmest year on record, even down to parts of Las Vegas, Phoenix, Los Angeles, areas that are already on track for potentially the warmest year on record, or now looking at potentially the warmest summers on record. So, this is something we're going to watch because hotter weather here in the Carolinas would be extremely bad news because when you look at the precipitation outlook for summer, ain't great. We're looking at wetter conditions for the Four Corners region of the U.S., wetter conditions for the Northeast. But then you see kind of this grayed out area. And we talked a little bit about this last week with a climate prediction center meteorologist with NOAA. And this little grayer shade here essentially means that we're either going to have normal precipitation or there's still a lot of uncertainty about whether it's going to be above normal or below normal. And again, the big uncertainty has to do with El Nino. What's the signal going to be like? And El Nino, it's suspected to be a pretty strong one this year. However, how strong does El Nino get? Because El Nino's strength is going to change signals across much of the country. Again, it changes all kinds of different things. When it comes down to climates, it changes also potentially our hurricane seasons, which we're going to talk about in the next segment. But if El Nino becomes a super El Nino, I mean, it's pretty much the strongest it can get. That means that those climate variabilities that we see during El Ninos will be more dramatic. The subtropical jet stream that gets amplified in the southern branch of the US will be even more amplified and lead to more rainy conditions for parts of the South just because El Nino is stronger. There's more of a stronger signal. So El Nino is really going to play a role for us when we look at that climate variability and the differences it could lead to across the US. But again, we don't want hot and drier weather because, again, a hot and drier weather pattern would dry us out even more. And that is extremely concerning and definitely something that we have to be very careful of because even though we have rain and we've seen a good amount of rain over the last, I don't know, probably month, I'd say, since we saw the rain that we saw in May, a drier pattern with hotter temperatures would cause issues because, as we mentioned in the last segment, a warmer atmosphere has more moisture to hold. It can hold more moisture. And unfortunately, Mother Nature can always suck that moisture out of our soil, out of our water, bodies of water like lakes, creeks, and streams. And that can also dry us out as well. Coming up in the next segment, hurricane season, it's here. It is here, and it's coming in quiet. And it could be on the calmer side for most of the season. But what's the one thing that can make what is expected to be a lower tropical activity season a more extreme one? We'll detail that next. We're talking about hurricane season. Again, you've probably seen where the season is expected to be a little less than what we tend to see during the Atlantic Basin hurricane season. However, there is one thing that could change that and make it a little bit more of an active season. And I'll show you that in just a second. But I want to talk to you about the season outlook first. So, first off, to start the season, no hurricane threats. Things are pretty quiet here to start the season. I'm not even really seeing any resemblances of hurricane activity or tropical activity out in the Atlantic Basin here for the first week, which is good news. That means we have nothing to worry about unless you are the Vegas Golden Knights. I got to pay a little homage to my Carolina Hurricanes, who, as of recording this, just lost game one. So, unfortunately, maybe the hurricane warning in Raleigh wasn't a good one. Let's just say that. Hopefully they can bounce back for game two and game three and game four and eventually win the series and be one of the stronger hurricanes we've seen. That's what we want to see. We want to see the Carolina Hurricanes be the strongest hurricane that we see so far for the hurricane season. So let's talk about some of the headlines for hurricane season. Again, hurricane season preview. Less tropical activity is expected this year, and El Nino is on the way. It is on the way, and we've talked about it all episode. And it's like beating a dead horse. I'm gonna have to talk about it pretty much every week now because it's the big weather story. It's the big climate story. El Nino is going to change things for us across the globe. And that's why we're going to talk about it a lot here on Pinpoint Weather University. El Nino leads to higher vertical wind shear out in the Atlantic basin. And that can weaken storms before they even get going or whenever they get strong over the warmer waters of the Atlantic basin. Unfortunately, maybe they're not able to get quite as organized. And that's unfortunate for them, those hurricanes, but it'd be more fortunate for us because that means we could get less threats. I did a little punching scene in my last one, but I'm not going to punch anybody today. I'm talking about just avoiding the punches that we get, right? So let's say we do get 8 named storms this year. That's 8 opportunities for potential hit here in the Carolinas or across the U.S. Any landfalling hurricane in the U.S. creates an active season, especially if it's a detrimental one. And then if we say we're going to get 14 named storms, and there's the potential for that as well, that's 14 punches. There's 14 opportunities for life-altering conditions in a particular location or particular locations, depending on how many people are impacted from it. So I actually am hoping that El Nino really takes over here. Again, El Nino, looking at this graphic, is just warmer ocean water out in the Pacific, essentially warmer water over parts of the equatorial Pacific. That again leads to more wind shear out in the Atlantic. But here's the deal: the Pacific Ocean, which is already getting its act together with tropical activity, its hurricane season tends to be more active because they get less wind shear from El Nino being stronger. So, parts of the west coast of Mexico and also parts of Hawaii. I mean, you have to pay attention to that because in the Pacific, there's an opportunity for that to get stronger there. Hurricanes to get stronger there. But what could change things? What's that one thing that could make the season still an active one in the Atlantic? Sea surface temperatures. What do hurricanes love? They love warm water. They feed off of warm water. If I give my dog a treat, he's going to love it. If I give him more treats, he's going to continue to ask for more treats. Hurricanes, if you give them warm water and they keep asking for it and they keep getting it, they get stronger and stronger and stronger. It's a hurricane's treat. It's its fuel. It's like Popeye, the sailor man, when you need to get a little bit of spinach and Popeye gets strong. That's the hurricane spinach. They use that fuel to get stronger. And here's the deal: sea surface temperatures are already warmer than normal across much of the Atlantic basin. I want to point something out. We're about 1 to 2 degrees above normal across much of the Atlantic basin. There is some portions of the central and eastern Atlantic that are a little below normal, which is why I'm not too worried about tropical waves for this time of year, which we don't tend to see tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa this time of year anyway. Too much wind shear out there in the Atlantic, even if we didn't have an El Nino coming in. But again, warm water can allow hurricanes to get stronger. And even with the big, strong wind shear, that could rip apart hurricanes, but it still could give us an opportunity for more of those named storms and more of those opportunities for concerning impacts. So here's the deal. Here's the NOAA forecast. This is what they have forecast for this hurricane season. There is a big spread here. 8 to 14 named storms. That is a large range. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a large range. Those guys, those scientists over there, they do a fantastic job of forecasting. They're looking at so many different climatological outlooks to figure out what the season could be like. But this big range tells me there's uncertainty. There is uncertainty about how many named storms we could possibly see. The uncertainty is because we still don't have a perfect idea of how strong El Nino is going to be. If El Nino is really strong, if it's a very strong historical El Nino, it's a super El Nino, it's a knock your socks off type of El Nino, we're likely going to see 8 named storms or less. But if this El Nino, it gets strong. It's not necessarily the most historical El Nino in the world, but it's a strong El Nino. We could see 14 named storms. And that's average. That's what we tend to see. Same thing with the hurricanes and the major hurricanes. Kind of a decent spread there in the range, but kind of what we typically see. And again, hurricane season 2023, I believe we had 19 named storms. That was an El Nino year. Just goes to say, El Nino is going to be the big thing here to talk about over the next several months. And we're only getting closer and closer to it. I believe 80% chance now of El Nino emerging over the next month or two. Here's the Atlantic hurricane names. We start with Arthur. And one name I'm paying attention to, Isaias. Yes. Oh, that I name's back. Yeah, that was not one that was fun to say a few years ago. And Isaias is back on the map, and I'm probably still saying it wrong. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm disrespecting anybody, but man, that I name is hard. It's a hard name to say. I'm hopeful that we don't even get there, because the I name, when you look at this list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's the 9th one down. That bottom range of the forecast hits, and we have 8 named storms. Isaias. I won't have to say that again. I'm meteorologist Bray Lawson, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll continue to show you some crazy weather video from across the country. Let you know what you can do to maybe get out of some of those crazy situations that other folks unluckily find themselves in. And we'll continue to educate you as El Nino strengthens across the globe. As always, folks, take care of yourself and each other as we navigate this fun earth together. Y'all take care. Be safe.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.